Hello, everyone. My name is Allegra Elson. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Director of Training and Development with Vibrant Pittsburgh. I am joined by my colleague, Lora McKnight, COO and VP of Programs and Services for Vibrant Pittsburgh. We are excited you are joining us today for an introductory webinar about participating in the Vibrant Index. Vibrant Pittsburgh is a premier economic development membership organization dedicated to supporting the growth and economic competitiveness of Pittsburgh as the region's central resource, spokesperson, and convener on workplace diversity and inclusion. Vibrant Pittsburgh works with area employers to position the region as an inclusive and welcoming place for people of all backgrounds. We work with our employer members to attract, retain, and elevate a diversity of talent to make our region a career destination of choice for people of color. Please use the Q&A or the chat to send us questions during our hour together. We are happy to attempt to answer your questions in real time, so send them as you think of them. So I'm going to turn it over to Lora McKnight.
Good afternoon, everyone. Excited to see you all and to have a conversation about what the Vibrant Index is and why it is so important for your organization and for our region. The Vibrant Index is a collaboration between our organization, Vibrant Pittsburgh, and the Allegheny Conference on Community Development. And we created it to drive diversity, equity, and inclusion changes across industry and sector in our region. The Vibrant Index identifies areas of organizational success, as well as what critical actions are needed to improve the practices, policies, and cultures of organizations. The Vibrant Index encourages companies to reflect on their best practices while also investigating opportunities to increase the impact of their DE&I efforts. And the goal is to move the needle on diverse talent attraction, retention, and elevation through the review, recommendation, and implementation of practices that research shows lead to more welcoming and inclusive work environments. By nudging our region's organizations toward more inclusive practices through the Vibrant Index process, we aim to galvanize our efforts around this shared urgency. Because we know that what is acknowledged and shared can be shifted quickly. So a commitment to the goals of the Vibrant Index will facilitate the organizational changes that are necessary for our business community and for our region to both thrive. The Vibrant Index was created to inspire organizations in our region to incorporate these best practices in DE&I. Each of the practices that we suggest through our process have been rigorously reviewed by research in DE&I and by experts that we have engaged. Each participating organization receives a confidential feedback report that includes scores in comparison to other respondents from that year and tips for adopting best practices in the future. Organizations that score highly each year are acknowledged as Vibrant Champions, and we'll talk more about that later. Organizations are also given the opportunity to further explore strategies and practices to advance DEI with some members of the Vibrant Pittsburgh team, and we'll talk a bit more about that as well. The Vibrant Index is an annual process, and it is open to all organizations in Southwestern Pennsylvania. So this includes publicly traded and private companies, large and small organizations, nonprofit organizations, as well as government departments and agencies. All are welcome to participate. Participant information that is provided to us through this process is strictly confidential. The data gathered in the Vibrant Index Diagnostic is used to provide a feedback report, as we said earlier, to each organization, to identify candidates for the Vibrant Champions list, and to produce a summary report of data that is revealed to the public. No individual organization responses or data are ever shared. Participating organizations are not publicized unless the organizations are deemed to be Vibrant Champions, and then those organizations are given the choice and opportunity to be recognized. So to kick us off and to do a few interactive things here today. We're curious to know what your thoughts are about participation in the Vibrant Index and why you would want to participate. So we have a poll here. Hopefully you can see it. Allegra, let me know if you can't.
Yep.
This is through Slido. So you can either point your phone at the QR code here to open up the Slido window, or you can join us at slido.com. And the number for our session is on the screen at 698-207. And this is a word cloud poll. So as you type in words that describe the reasons that you're interested in the Vibrant Index, we'll be able to see them real time on the screen. So we would love to have, oh, look, people are already starting to have you type in words. So improvement and benchmarking are some of the interests that individuals and organizations have for the Vibrant Index. As you see words that you agree with, you can type them again. You can submit as many words as you like. And then we can see what the group is agreeing on as what's most interesting about the Vibrant Index. So it looks like right now improvement is a shared interest here. Best practices, accessibility, creating a more diverse pipeline, understanding trends, growth, data, learning, development. We'll leave this go for just a few more moments. So it seems that everyone here is really interested in improvement, which I'm very excited about. And benchmarking, accessibility, best practices, and more data. It's great. So now I'm going to key up Allegra so we can have a conversation about the DEI business case and we can learn a little bit more.
Great, thanks. So I think we have all heard a lot about the business case for diversity, equity, and inclusion. We know from a large body of research that diversity, equity, and inclusion are important components in high-performing organizations. Organizations that are proactive in creating diverse teams and equitable and inclusive environments see significant improvement in team and organizational performance, increases in earnings, improvement in decision-making. These organizations are also more likely to capture new markets. When employees feel included, they're more engaged. Highly engaged employees go the extra mile for the organization. This higher engagement has a ripple effect on performance, profitability, team morale, and retention. According to a study conducted by the Harvard Business Review, companies with above average total diversity, measured as the average of 6 dimensions of diversity, migration, industry, career path, gender, education, age, had both 19% points higher innovation revenues and 9% points higher earnings before interest and tax margins on average. In particular, gender diverse teams outperformed individual decision makers 73% of the time. And teams diverse in geography, gender, and age made better business decisions than individuals 87% of the time. Harvard Business Review also discovered that diverse companies are 70% more likely to capture new markets. So what is our key takeaway from this? The secret of making diversity work appears to be to apply the concept at multiple levels, to address a variety of dimensions of diversity, to be open to a multitude of routes to achieving success. The power of diversity still needs to be unlocked with enabling practices such as inclusive policies, diverse recruiting and retention strategies, and cultures of belonging. The presence of these enabling factors is worth up to 12.9% of innovation revenue. So that is our key takeaway there. So let's talk about the Pittsburgh region a bit. The data on the Pittsburgh regional talent shortage is well known and consistent in its urgency. In its inflection point 2017-18 report, the Allegheny Conference found that the Pittsburgh region is on track toward a worker shortage of about 80,000 by 2025. This number is based on a variety of factors, including baby boomer retirements, modest job growth, and a talent pipeline that does not meet demand, as well as the loss of approximately 20,000 college students graduating and leaving this region every year. The impact of the shortage on our region's vitality cannot be overstated. If the Pittsburgh region is committed to thriving, every stakeholder must view talent attraction and retention as not only an opportunity, but an imperative. So next up, and we'll also, in the next slide, we're going to talk about excuse me, everybody. In the next slide, we're going to talk about who are we trying to attract and retain. So we know from this census report that the workers of the future are more racially and ethnically diverse. By 2044, more than half of Americans will identify as members of underrepresented racial and ethnic groups. So how does this compare to the demographics of our region? In our region, minorities, and I'm using minorities as a word from the census, comprise only 13% of Pittsburgh region's population and 11% of the region's workforce. Hispanic, Asian American, and African American representation are 1.2%, 1.5%, and 7.8% respectively. Yet minorities represent over 37% of the US population and more than 32% of the nation's workforce. Metropolitan Pittsburgh ranks as the second least diverse region in the USA's top 100 urban metro areas. However, more than half entering the workforce today are minorities. So as the demographics of the nation change, and we're also starting to look at the most recent census data, it's really crucial that our region becomes a draw for diversity of talent and a welcoming place of opportunity for all. Organizations acting as leaders in equity and inclusion efforts play a critical role in making this talent transition. The time to act on these changes necessary for our region's shared future is now, and the Vibrant Index will help us get there. So I'm going to turn it back over to Lora to talk specifically about the Vibrant Index.
And I do want to stop here just to check in and see if anyone has any questions before we dive in more deeply about the Vibrant Index, the diagnostic categories. Any questions about the data that we've presented here or any of the other slides that came before?
And we are in the process of evaluating the data from the last census and also looking at that there may be more baby boomer retirements than expected. More people are self-identifying as mixed race. So there's a lot of different data out there now that we're evaluating. Yeah, question.
So it looks like we have a question. It says to explain the graph on the right. So are we looking at the projecting majority minority graph? I think that's the one that we're being asked to explain. Oh, I'm sorry, on the right. That would be
year when whites become minority by age group.
Yes. Allegra, do you want to take that, or would you like me to jump in there?
Yes, I would like you to jump in there.
Okay, great.
I think I can. Yeah, but
okay. So as we look at the changing demographics by age, what we're looking at is when individuals that don't identify as white become the majority in the United States population. So in 2020, individuals that were under the age of 18 were already, when we look at the majority there was a minority of individuals that identified as white, and the majority of individuals under the age of 18 were identifying as other racial groups other than white. In 2027, we're going to actually see that those that are 18 to 29 years of age will lose that white majority that had been present up until then. And so after 2060, we're going to see that the majority for all age groups is going to be what we consider now to be underrepresented groups. So this is just showing how over time the demographics of different generations are changing. I hope that this answers your question. If you have another question, please let me know, or if that's unclear, please let us know and we'll say more. So the majority or the largest piece of the Vibrant Index process is participating in the Vibrant Index Diagnostic. This is the bulk of the work that an organization puts into the process by answering a variety of questions that assesses an organization's adoption of DE&I best practices. The questions in the diagnostic for the 2021 data year, but we'll be evaluating in January of 2022. Those questions are grouped into 9 categories. So the first category is written commitment and transparency. And this category asks questions about an organization's public commitments to DE&I, such as the signing of a diversity pledge or the public dissemination and publication of non-discrimination policies. A written public commitment or multiple written public commitments show customers, clients, potential and current employees, and the public that DE&I are organizational values. And these transparent DE&I commitments set the tone for an organization's culture and climate. In the benefits and policies section, we look at the key benefits that have large impacts on underrepresented and marginalized populations. It is not intended to be comprehensive or a comprehensive review of all benefits that an organization gives to their employees, but instead we look at what an organization is doing and how it is caring to make work life easier or possible for all employees, regardless of background. The employee networks category examines how organizations provide underrepresented employees with networks that support and connect them to information, opportunities, and resources that are critical to engagement, advancement, and retention in the workplace. These employee networks are often called ERGs, Employee Resource Groups, or EBGs, Employee Business Resource Groups. So sometimes we just lump that together and call it an EBRG. So you'll see that throughout the process. And EBRGs can provide organizations with critical insights into communities and cultures and can help create more inclusive working environments for all employees. EBRGs are not appropriate for every organization. This is one of the categories that's very dependent upon organizational size. And the success of an EBRG is dependent upon a variety of other factors as well, such as the organization's climate and the structure of the EBRGs. Part of our proprietary scoring process is to look at organizations by size and to see what is actually reasonable, feasible, and possible. So smaller organizations are not held to the same standard as a larger organization around employee networks, just because an employee network and the structure of employee networks of this type are usually pretty dependent on that organization's size. In leadership, we look at how the organization is supporting the work of DE&I through their leadership, because we know that this work must be supported by leaders. So this category is a snapshot of the leadership participation and investment that an organization has in DE&I work. The training and education category dives into all of the ways in which DEI topics are incorporated into an organization's professional development and training programs. The accountability metrics category investigates how organizations are assessing if their DEI efforts are actually yielding fruit. So this is where we look at how an organization is analyzing their systems, because we know that when we're analyzing our systems, we can be vigilant to make sure that they're not disenfranchising people from underrepresented groups. In the talent engagement and recruitment category, we look at these first steps, because we know that talent engagement and recruitment are the first steps in having a diverse workforce, but we know that efforts must go beyond getting top underrepresented talent in the door. So the engagement and recruitment category looks at the intentional and strategic actions that are taking place within an organization to ensure that hiring processes are fair, that biases are mitigated, and that all employees are receiving equal cultivation towards success. The supplier diversity category assesses how organizations are utilizing supplier spend to disrupt bias, to equalize the playing field, and to build wealth networks in marginalized communities. By collecting data on the diversity of suppliers, an organization can really gain awareness of their spending patterns and redirect their resources accordingly. And last, the community engagement category assesses organizational participation in community initiatives to create a regional culture that celebrates a diversity of experiences. So here we're looking at how organizations are participating in activities, events, and programs in the community, and what they're hosting, what they're funding, and what they may be putting on themselves, and how they're working with communities to connect and engage and build that reputation in the community as an organization that cares about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, for any of you that may have participated in our last diagnostic, you will notice here that we have 9 categories. Last year, we had a 10th category that was specifically to look at how organizations were working through the pandemic and how they were working through the racial, the real highlight on racial injustice in the United States and in the world. So given how 2020 was and all of the things that were going on, we wanted a 10th category that year when we were assessing to see what organizations were doing. So we're back to our original diagnostic with 9 categories when we're evaluating in this upcoming cycle. Any questions here before I move on?
No questions in the Q&A or in the chat yet.
So earlier we mentioned our Vibrant champions, and companies that score at or above the 95th percentile on the Vibrant Index diagnostic are considered our Vibrant champions. On this screen, you can see the champions that were most recently designated: Community College of Allegheny County, PNC, the Pittsburgh Promise, and UPMC. Use of the Vibrant Champions name is an exclusive benefit for companies that scored at or above that 95th percentile mark on the diagnostic. And we want to be very clear: an organization designation of Vibrant Champion does not mean in any way to communicate or convey perfection. We acknowledge, both Vibrant Pittsburgh and the Allegheny Conference on Community Development, that there is no one right way for an organization to practice diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that some practices may be more feasible for some companies, for some industries than others. So a score at or above the 95th percentile on the diagnostic simply means that a company is currently adhering to many of the numerous DEI practices that are featured in the diagnostic. Any organization that is designated as a Vibrant Champion has the opportunity to be recognized through a press release about the Vibrant Index. They receive a Vibrant Champion seal for use in advertising, marketing, and recruiting. And Vibrant Champions will also have opportunities to participate in Vibrant Index related webinars and trainings. So there are a variety of opportunities if your organization does achieve that level of success on the diagnostic. And part of our work is really to make sure that we're growing this body of organizations every year. And we'll talk a bit more about that later, to make sure that we're getting more and more champions as the work goes on. So your organization is interested in participating in the Vibrant Index. How do you get involved? What does the process look like? First, you can sign up to participate by going to the link that is on the screen. And Allegra, if you could drop a link to that SurveyMonkey in the chat, you can sign up at this link and it will get you onto our Vibrant Index mailing list, which will deliver to you a participation link when we open up the diagnostic period. There is no cost to participate in any part of the process. The Vibrant Index Initiative is funded through Vibrant Pittsburgh membership and specifically supported by our community pillar members. When the diagnostic period opens on January 24th, participating organizations will receive an email that will include a diagnostic invitation, a link to the online diagnostic form, and additional information to support the process of completing the diagnostic. You'll also be put in touch directly with me and with other members of our team for any questions that you might have during the diagnostic process. Organizations are asked to base their responses on the previous calendar year. So for us in this conversation, that would be for 2021. Organizations must submit only one response from an authorized representative, as we are not able to consider more than one response per organization. So we ask that you do coordinate with other members of your organization and your team to avoid submitting multiple responses to the diagnostic. No question in the diagnostic survey must be answered to complete the process. I will say that again. No question in the diagnostic must be answered to complete the process. Any question may be left blank. I say this and highlight this because there are some pieces of information that some organizations are not able to reveal. And we may ask about them, but we don't want your inability to answer that question to stop you from completing the rest of the diagnostic. However, it is worth saying that we are only able to evaluate organizations based on the information that they do provide to us. The more data an organization provides, the better we can assess that organization's actual efforts, which can help improve the organization's evaluation and their potential vibrant champion status over time. So for every diagnostic question that an organization provides a response, even a response that may compare poorly to other employers, that will have an advantage over an organization that decides to not provide a response. Again, this is something we can talk more about. We have many organizations that contact us and they say to us, look, I would love to provide answers to this, this, and this, but I can't get approval. That's fine. And that's a conversation that you can have with us through that diagnostic period from January 24th through February 28th. And we will help you make those determinations or have further conversations if leadership is questioning whether or not information should be provided. The diagnostic can be completed over multiple sessions. We do provide our main point of contact with a PDF copy of all of the questions so that they can be reviewed and approved, and also so that that information can be gathered more easily within your organization. However, you can still access that link multiple times. And when you return to the diagnostic link, you will be returned to the last part that was completed so that you can just continue on very easily. We ask that an organization does not submit their diagnostic until they're certain that it is complete and accurate. When that diagnostic period closes in 2022, that will be on February 28th, that's when Vibrant Pittsburgh begins the process of creating participant feedback reports. These confidential feedback reports reflect an organization's practices in the 2021 calendar year. They will show their scores compared to sample averages, compared to organizational size averages, and high scores in each category. And we also provide tips for adopting better practices in the future. Our scoring is a proprietary process and it adjusts based on the size of the organization as well as a variety of other factors. Once an organization has their feedback report, they can choose to schedule a free one-on-one consultation with a Vibrant Pittsburgh team member, and we will review your feedback report and make recommendations for next steps. In the summer of 2022, Vibrant Pittsburgh will be releasing the annual Vibrant Index Summary Report, which we discussed a little earlier. What this does is it discusses key findings from the participant sample as a whole. Previous summary reports are available to the public on the Vibrant Pittsburgh website. Allegra, if you have a moment, if you could drop a link to that page into the chat, that would be great. Our annual reports serve to highlight the progress of the region overall, as well as to give an annual call to action to our region's businesses for continued DEI focus and improvement. Additionally, Vibrant Pittsburgh member organizations are able to take advantage of training and development opportunities throughout the calendar year, which enables members to gain valuable DEI skills, strategies, and tactics. So to talk more about that, I will turn over the conversation to Allegra to discuss our training and development and how it dovetails with the Vibrant Index.
Okay, thanks. So a big part of my role as the Director of Training and Development is to think about different learning and education opportunities for our member organizations. And also to answer this question, how do organizations operationalize training, learning, and development? So when we think about training and education, thinking about it in terms of professional development, including diversity, equity, and inclusion topics in an organization's professional development programs on a regular and ongoing basis can help keep the organization's employees up to date on terms, practices, and also challenges and opportunities. This is necessary at every level, but most crucially for hiring teams and managers whose decisions can cascade and have effects on the entire organization and a variety of teams. So as I thought about how to structure a lot of our training and development, I've looked at the research, and research just shows that when information is presented in a way that is linked to our current schemas, we are better able to remember it. Educational opportunities are most effective when approached from a variety of angles, allowing for the transfer of knowledge as well as the discussion of specific workplace situations. So I also try to get very specific about things that are happening within different workplaces. So the way that I have structured this, and I like to think about it as a layering of learning. First is the Vibrant Pittsburgh Resilience Through Equity series. It's an opportunity for Vibrant Pittsburgh to highlight and tackle critical opportunities to improve the practices, policies, and cultures of organizations in the Pittsburgh region, increasing the impact of our collective diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. We have every other month, we have live webinars, and we address a specific topic from the 9 Vibrant Index criteria areas that Lora just highlighted for you. So I am also very intentional about the speakers and about the topics, and that they do come from our Vibrant Index criteria areas. I also offer monthly lunch and learns, and that is for all employer members and all of the employees who are in member organizations. It brings together members from across sectors and industries for an informal, interactive, and virtual atmosphere. It helps us to collaborate and deepen knowledge about a variety of diversity, equity, and inclusion topics. And also recently it was highlighted that it establishes connections across industry and sector. And so these are connections that are very valuable, particularly in the Pittsburgh region. So those are monthly, and those are a variety of topics. I'm also going to be increasing the amount of time that we have discussion time in those. From there, employer members can request either private trainings, and we will also have on-demand virtual learning opportunities through the learning management system, Teachable. And that is something that employees can access 24/7 when I'll have those up and running in January of 2022. And then also live training opportunities in which it's a private training within your organization that I work with you and your employees. So again, as I said, this creates a layering of learning. It creates a layer of sustained learning. And so, and it also helps us continue the conversation around equity, inclusion, and belonging. So I like to quote the educator, Dr. Denisa Monte-Jackson, in which she said, "Business leaders who are willing to go deeper at this moment have the opportunity to be part of a paradigm shift in corporate America's approach to systemic racism at a time of dire need. And Vibrant Pittsburgh is here as an inclusion partner in these efforts." So I wanted to highlight how we are using the Vibrant Index also to help with our learning opportunities. So Vibrant Indexes, so I want to stop here and see if there are questions. Lora, I know there's already a question in the chat regarding the index.
Yes, the question is disability part of the Vibrant Index diagnostic, the results and best practice recommendations? So given the work of Vibrant Pittsburgh and the focus that we have had historically on racially and ethnically underrepresented groups in the region. Our tool is focused very heavily on looking at racially and ethnically underrepresented groups and the practices that can assist them. We have some questions that are in the diagnostic that do assess disability accommodations. We do have some questions that assess familial support that can happen within an organization. We do have some that discuss LGBTQIA+ concerns and the ways in which benefits and policies can support individuals that are in that population as well. But the main focus of the diagnostic has been and will be in this upcoming year on practices that do improve racially and ethnically underrepresented talent and their experience within an organization. Though we are looking to develop out more of the Vibrant Index and bring more aspects of diversity, inclusion, and belonging into the index. So I love the question. It's something that we're looking at for bringing more disability inclusion questions into our diagnostic. And we're looking at that for our next year of the diagnostic. What we wanted to do is, given that this is the third year of our diagnostic process, we wanted to make sure that we had a stable enough instrument to ask the same questions enough that we could see if there are any trends that are building. So as we're building over time and we have more and more annual reports and annual processes under our belt, we will be adding in other questions about disability inclusion. So thank you so much for that question. Are there any other questions?
There's a question in the Q&A and also in the chat. In the Q&A, the number of organizations that participated in the 2020 index, and that number was 78, correct, Laura?
Yeah, it was 78. So our first year, we had 50 organizations that participated. That was our pilot year. And we only invited organizations that were either Vibrant Pittsburgh members or Allegheny Conference members. In the second year, in 2020, we opened it to the whole region, and we saw that 56% increase.
There's a question in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
How long does the diagnostic take to complete? We work with very small owner-operated businesses and want to encourage them to complete it, but it may be very challenging for these small operators.
I will say this. For a smaller organization, it will probably be quicker because the individuals that are answering the diagnostic questions will know exactly what's going on in all of the different areas of the business. It takes a little longer for large organizations that need to connect with multiple departments and get multiple levels of approval to submit answers. I would say that depending on the size of the organization, the questionnaire, we've reduced some of the questions given that we pulled that 10th category. So I think we're in the mid 60s in terms of questions. I don't think it will take very long to complete the questionnaire. It's really gathering the information, and we can send that questionnaire out early to anyone that's interested in seeing it if they need to obtain approval or need to get a better sense of what the process will look like so they can be prepared. Excellent question. If you are interested in getting the diagnostic early to look it over, please contact me. I would love to talk with you.
I'm going to stay on there's a question specifically around training, Laura, but I'm going to stay on the questions about the index.
Okay.
How do organizations typically gather their answers to these questions? I imagine the answers vary depending on who in the organization is responding.
So it depends on the size of the organization. For an organization that has an HR department, human resources department, a chief HR officer, usually that individual is the one that is spearheading the effort and is reaching out to other pieces of the organization to gather information. Or a chief diversity officer, if the organization has one, may be the one who collects all of the information. Given the 9 categories and how they may reach into different departments, supplier diversity, for instance, what often happens is the questions are given out and then collected by one individual. Now, if it's a smaller organization, you may be able to answer. I'll speak for Vibrant Pittsburgh. When we do our own diagnostic, we are able to do it very quickly because we're a 10-person organization, and I can literally, pre-COVID, I could walk over to my coworker's desk and say, you handle all of our vendors. Can I see your vendor list and how you are tracking supplier diversity? But for a larger organization, it takes, a little bit more. So if that's a question that you want to dive more deeply into, how to plan out that process, please definitely contact me and we can have a conversation that's more specific to your organization's needs.
Mm-hmm. And I put both of our emails in the chat so
Great.
that folks can contact us about our respective areas. So the question for me is learning opportunities through Teachable, and can I tell you more about that? I sure can. So Teachable is a learning management system in which you can go in and view presentations that are recorded and also participate in a moderated discussion board. I have this envisioned in a couple of ways for use. So the first way would be if you are a member organization, I sit down with you and see what kind of training you're looking for. So also just to back up a little bit, I have a lot of training, shall we say, already primed and ready to go and ready for members and also for non-members. But I'm always willing to talk about what are your specific needs for your organization. So you're never sort of stuck into like, here's the list, pick something. There is always, we can have a conversation. So we have a conversation about what you are looking for in terms of a training. I have that training up on Teachable. The employees go through the training. They answer questions throughout the training on a discussion board, hopefully engage with each other a little bit in that discussion board. And then we meet either virtually or in person. I don't know when in-person trainings will begin, so I'm going to say we meet virtually to have deeper discussions around the topic there. But the way that we looked at Teachable is that, I spend a lot of time sometimes presenting information, and employees are thinking about this information and digesting it, but there's still not a lot of time for discussing it or thinking about different ways to look at diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and access and accessibility. So we want to give you a chance to think about that. Another way I can use Teachable is having some of those lunch and learns up on the Teachable and having a discussion board and making that available to you as a member. If you are not a member of Vibrant Pittsburgh, and I encourage you to become a member of Vibrant Pittsburgh, but if you are not a member of Vibrant Pittsburgh, we can discuss how you can access our trainings for a fee. And I'm happy to talk about that and talk about, the differential and, but there are many benefits of membership, and this is one of them. And Laura, did I sort of hit upon all the ways that I'm looking to use Teachable that we've discussed?
You definitely did. And part of the Vibrant Index is that any participant organization can choose to have an hour's discussion about their results at the end once they get their feedback report. But as a Vibrant Pittsburgh member, you have that access all of the time. You have a variety of different opportunities to talk with Allegra, to think through how to survey employees to see where the organization is at on their DEI journey. You can create a teachable environment for your staff to work on inclusion work and do it autonomously. Some people might be on third shift or second shift, and they can all work at their own pace and at their own time. You can have conversations about recruiting and how to begin to really strategize around getting underrepresented populations not only in the door, but helping them to stay and helping them to see the efforts that you're putting forward and helping to do the things that make the biggest impact for those underrepresented groups. So I think that the Vibrant Index, is a great way to step forward and to get that roadmap. And I really do want to encourage organizations to use the index process and that diagnostic that you will literally get a copy of to use that as a roadmap for where to begin or to begin to evaluate what you're already doing. It's a great way to look at a variety of different areas where DE&I can make an impact and see what we and experts are recommending that organizations do to really create those inclusive environments.
And I think you mentioned this, Laura, the Vibrant Index Diagnostic is open to all organizations in the region.
All organizations. So there is no need to be a member to participate. We only ask that you are either located in southwestern Pennsylvania or that you serve populations in southwestern Pennsylvania. Any other questions? And really, we had this webinar because we want to remove barriers for organizations. We want to make sure that you have the information that you need to be able to bring this to your leadership if you need to be able to get started, to be able to say, yes, we'd like to do this. We sincerely believe that what we measure matters, that the things that we look at closely are the things that we're actually able to change. So this is an effort to begin to get our region's businesses on the same page around what will make an impact. And if you have any questions, we want this to be as supportive. We want this to be as empathetic. We want this to be as useful as possible for you and for your team. So we really do encourage that you reach out to us privately or through the chat here and let us know what you're thinking so that we can make sure that not only are we addressing your questions, but we're taking into account some of the things that you're observing. As earlier with the question about having questions around disability inclusion. We need to know what organizations are wanting and what they want to have us look at and evaluate and measure for the region. All right, it looks like we don't have any questions. So are you ready to bring it home, Allegra?
I sure am. So this is the Vibrant Index 3.0. So as mentioned, the next Vibrant Diagnostic period is scheduled for January 24th through February 28th, 2022. If you're interested in participating, that's the link. I just dropped it in the chat again for you. It's a very simple survey monkey where you say, yes, I'm interested, or yes, we are interested, or yes, we are interested, and we want more information. And we will reach out to you and find out what that more information is that you would like to have about it. We really encourage you to participate. It's also very helpful to me as I look at more trainings and development. Again, to reiterate, our trainings are not static. I'm constantly listening and learning and reading and trying to figure out what's the best way to go as we move forward in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. Really encourage you to participate. And here's how you connect with us. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, and of course we are on the web. I sent you the link to our Vibrant Index Summary Report. We also encourage you to interact with us and interface with us on these platforms too. So that's how to get in touch with us. I have put in my email and Laura's email, and we're more than happy to hear from you with more questions, and we have time for more questions today.
Allegra, do you have a link to the Ask Us Anything conversation that's happening on December 15th?
I do.
So this is an open to the public lunch and learn, correct?
Correct. This is open to the public. It is a lunch and learn. We will have our entire staff available to you to answer questions. And anything that you have questions about, we will get to you. And it is taking me a minute to get to that link. I'm sorry. I have lost use of my mouse and I can't seem to get it. But yeah, it is something new. It is something in which we will be present and open to questions. Everything from, what are you seeing in terms of trends of diversity, equity, and inclusion coming up? What are you, and I have lost my link, Laura, I'm sorry.
That is not a problem. I can, how about if I continue talking and you can look then.
Okay. Can't seem to do both at the same time.
No, it is hard. It is hard to both facilitate and try to find things online. Most of our lunch and learns, as Allegra said, are only for our members, but we do like to open up some of them so that we can engage the wider community and have a conversation about DE&I. And this is specifically a time to really connect with Vibrant and our team, and to learn why we do the work that we do, what is most important to us, why some of us are allies and advocates and accomplices in this work, and why we are so genuinely and authentically convinced that greater diversity, equity, and inclusion is one of the answers for the success of our region. So we really want to make sure that if you're interested in having that conversation, that you are able to show up, and it looks as if that link has been dropped. So I talked long enough, which is good.
And
so
also
to
highlight too, I gave all of our staff an assignment to write a 100-word bio that was going to be something different than what you find on our website, about why they are, something personal, and also why they are in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, and why it matters to them, and why they work for Vibrant Pittsburgh. And I will be sharing out those bios lately. But it was a challenge, and everybody rose to the challenge, and I'm really impressed with what our staff had to say about being in this space. I did it. I found it. It's in the chat. Please register.
So we have about 7 more minutes. If anyone has any burning questions, we are available for burning questions. And if there aren't any, we can give you 7 minutes of your lunchtime back. Going once, going twice. It appears that we are out of questions. Well, I do hope that I hear from some of you, either through the link to participate in the index or reaching out directly to just let us know what would make this an easier process for you, how we can support you in doing this work. Thank you so much for your time and your attention and your interest in creating a more equitable and inclusive region.